This is a Tudor Gooseberry Tart with saffron pastry, and I'm going to show you how to put it together, mostly from scratch. I'm going to start with the pastry. Now you mix your fimo into the colour of the pastry you want, and you can then shape your pie in a couple of different ways, but before that I'm going to talk about, this is the colour for ordinary pastry, but if you're making saffron pastry you need to add a little bit of saffron colouring. Now, saffron was the most costly spice by weight that they had in medieval and Tudor times, so this was not necessarily a cheap dish to make. You have to add a little orange fimo to the yellow fimo to give it a more golden colour, which will actually then be added to the pastry. And you don't need to do very much, you don't need to add very much. Fimo, the colours are quite intense, so you be very careful when you're adding extra colours to something, because otherwise you'll find that it comes out much too deep a colour. So is the finished piece of pastry, and I'm now going to show you how to make the shape. You can do this two ways. First of all, you can take a small circle. I've been using this plan case, and you can cut out round the shape by either taking your scalpel round or using the shape as a pastry cutter, and just cut round it to free it from the pastry. Now, the next step for this way is to cut strips of pastry, which you then proceed to line round the pastry case, gently tucking it in so that the two bond. You consider you do that all the way round. The other way to do it is to, this was the way that the Tudors would probably have done it. Roll out your pastry, and then you shape the pie case by hand round a form, so that you lift it like so, cutting it as you go. Now if you're shaping it by hand up around a mould, then you fold it in, fold it round until you've done it all, and then you trim off the edges as you would making a pastry case at home. And here's one I did earlier. You don't have to worry too much about the sides or it looking too neat. Most Tudor pies and tarts were all fashioned by hand, and they just pulled up the pastry to make a shallow bowl as such, deeper in some cases, but they just finished it off as so. Now this is the Fimo that I mixed earlier to make the gooseberries. Actually, these are some of the gooseberries that I've already made and baked, and these are the colours that I used. It's better if you're going to do this sort of thing to use several different shades, because it makes it look more authentic. If you use the same shade, it looks too uniform. So first of all, you need to chop up a little bit of the colours that you've used and add some liquid Fimo. Not a lot, just 1 drop will be enough. And you mix the two so that it looks like cooked gooseberries. You mix them in and continue. Now when you've got it to the right consistency, you can fill your case with the mashed gooseberries and spread it over the bottom so that it flattens it out, and then you add some of the gooseberries you've already made to give a texture to the top and make it look that little bit more. Once you've put your gooseberries on the top, just to give it more texture, make it look a bit more authentic, you then recook it so that the gooseberry mixture hardens off as the case. Now for the finishing off. The Tudors like to decorate their dishes with candied fruits or fresh flowers, and as this was quite an exotic dish with the saffron in, quite expensive, they would have actually used it for entertaining. So now we put some flowers around the edge, making it look quite festive, and this would have then gone to table. The other one, which I just finished, the presentation with the flowers, that is if you want to put it on an entertainment table or a banqueting table. This one on a wooden platter is more suitable for what one would call ordinary family dining. So you just put it there. You don't need to decorate this as much, but what would enhance it is some sort of eating utensil, either a spoon or a knife, possibly a spoon. There were no forks, as you know, in Tudor times, and so everything was either firm enough to be eaten with a knife or soft enough to be eaten with a spoon.